Keeping Up with the Joneses. The sermon was first spoken on November 11th, 1956, in Johnstown, Pennsylvania. The text for this morning's message is Mark 9, verse 35. If anyone would be first, he must be last of all, and servant of all. These are the days of the refrigerated chicken. He's the bird you see in the supermarket, cold, lifeless, and cellophane wrapped. These are the days of chicken in the zoo, so a city child can see how a live one looks like. These are the days when you wonder about your friends. Have they ever seen a chicken, head erect, feathered, and strutting around? How many of you have ever been within 25 feet of live chickens on a farm? If you have, then you at least have observed the pecking order of the hen. Oh, there is one hen in the flock who can peck every other hen, and she does. She is hen number 1. Hen number 2 pecks every hen except hen number 1. Hen number 3 pecks every hen except the first 2, and so on down to the bottom, where there is one poor hen who can't peck anybody and is pecked by everybody. Among the roosters, the same pecking order prevails. Hen-pecked husbands will be interested to know that some hens peck some roosters, and vice versa. I'm not making this up in my head. The Scientific American reported these findings from scientific study of this pecking order of the hen. How do chickens get that way? Because every chicken in their warped little mind thinks the meaning and the aim of life is to get ahead of and lord it over as many other chickens as they can. So by bluff or by brutality, peck by peck, they climb the ladder of chicken success, and with each new victory, they strut and cackle or crow. Now, the human beings who put a chicken on a platter and have it for dinner feel infinitely superior to the lowly bird, yet the humans who eat chickens often are like them. They too have a pecking order. They also strut and crow when they peck themselves ahead of someone else. Getting ahead often means getting ahead of the other fella. In sports or sales, that's a part of the game. It's quite something else, however, when by cleverness, by slander, or by 100 brutalities of hand and brain, we put someone else down to put ourselves up. Pick on somebody your own size, one schoolboy says to the other. But we don't pick on somebody our size. We pick and peck on somebody not our size to establish domination over him in possessions or prestige or power, all in subtle, even unconscious ways. By having more things with more expensive clothes or a costlier car, by landing the job your friend Bill wanted and would now have if you hadn't cheated. Keeping up with the Joneses usually means getting ahead of Jones. If you want a theological term for it, it's the old sin of pride. Think of the items you have bought because of the snob appeal of their advertising, of how on the road you want to pass the other fellow's car, of how keenly you listen when the television announcer hints that you will move up socially by getting a larger car tomorrow. Other human relationships also reveal kinship to the pecking order of the hen. Management and labor peck away at each other, trying to get the better of it. In this election year, observe the pecking of the politicians. On the international scene, the Cold War is really a pecking war to determine which nation can pick and peck on which nation for the next 100 years. And now the pecking order is all right for chickens, but for human beings, God has something better in store. Jesus considered this so fundamental to the meaning of life that he made his disciples sit down and carefully listen to him as he told them, if any one would be first, he must be last of all and servant of all. Mark deemed so highly Jesus' new principle of life that men are not to peck their way to the top to lord it over others, but under God are to serve them, that beginning with this verse, Mark 9:35, he uses 70 verses to the end of chapter 10 to gather incidents in Jesus' life which illustrate this teaching. Then, at the end of this long chapter on service, as Jesus and his disciples went on their way to Jerusalem and the cross, we are told how two of the disciples, James and John, took Jesus out of the hearing of others and said, "Oh, grant us to sit, one at your right hand and one at your left, in your glory." It was the old pecking order again. They wanted not merely to stand head and shoulders above all other men, but to put one over on their friend and fellow disciple, Peter. "You don't know what you ask," Jesus replied. "What you ask for is not mine to give. It is for those who pass God's requirements. Those who rule over the Gentiles lord it over them, and their great men exercise authority over them. But it shall not be so among you. But whoever would be great among you must be your servant, and whoever would be first among you must be slave of all. For the Son of Man also came not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many." This then is the real meaning of life, not for chickens, but for men. It is the way to true manhood and womanhood, to true greatness in the sight of God, not to be served, but to serve and to give your life in the service of others. The Boy Scout approaches Jesus' ideal when every day he does his one good deed. You and I take a long step forward in a life of service when we also make it a rule to do a good deed daily for someone. To quote Halford Lukács, we need to change from the passive to the active voice. We all begin, he says, in the passive voice. We are acted upon before we act, loved before we love, served in ways almost beyond count before we serve. Yet life's most significant graduation comes when we graduate into the active voice and begin to act upon others, saving, loving, and serving them. Consider yourself when you entered the doors of this church. Did you not come passively to have the choir or the minister give you a lift, to use an old phrase, or more basically, to be saved by God? Did it ever occur to you that your salvation under God does not begin until, following Jesus Christ, you begin actively to serve your fellow men in his name? Paul tells us, work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. The salvation is wrought by God, but it has to be worked out by you and me through serving others for him. In a literal sense, the Church of Christ is a service station. The fact that it serves so many people, young and old, who come to it is only a part of the story. The other part is that it sends you forth, serviced, to serve other people with whom you live and work and play. If it does not, then the church has failed, and you have failed also. How can you and I serve our fellow men? By having a passion for people like that of Jesus. Some see people as statistics or objects or hindrances or as animals in a zoo or as something to be pecked at. Jesus saw people as individual persons, each with a name, with loves and fears and hopes of their own, weary and heavy laden, and always in need of help. Consider your life, measured only by the amount of real service you have rendered to people. That is the way. The only way, really, that it is measured. On Judgment Day, there are going to be some shocking surprises. In the story of the emperor's new clothes, there is a small boy among the spectators. While the subservient flatterers are giving way to raptures over the supposed gossamer thin clothing of the emperor, the realistic little boy blurts out the truth. Why, he hasn't anything on at all. He's naked. A lot of people, when they stand before God on Judgment Day, are going to be naked. For on earth they have spun for themselves no garments of service. Instead, they have spent all their time belonging to the order of the hen, pecking at their fellows to get ahead of them and be first. If anyone would be first, he must be last of all and servant of all. Who wants to be a hen or a rooster? We want to do more in life than to peck and cackle and crow. Amen. Welcome, YouTube subscribers, to Seven World Productions, a division of Angelgram Music. This channel is dedicated to inspiring the viewer with episodes about 7 special interests common to all of us. My name is Gino, owner of Angelgram Music and executive director of Seven World Productions. There are 7 worlds for you, the viewer, to choose from. The world of art, the world of books, the world of faith, the world of family, the world of food, the world of games, and the world of music. Check out the promo clip of each world for details. Now, together we're going to discover 7 worlds that will inspire all of us to enrich our lives. Be sure to click like and leave your comments, and above all, subscribe to receive notification of updates in future episodes. Go and be inspired.